Hello, everyone. Welcome to OpenX Data Conference. I'm Junping the co-founder and CEO at Datastrato. So we are building the metadata world for the company in an open source way. We are the builder which behind Apache Gravitino. As AI system evolve from large language model to autonomous agents, so enterprise data platform needs to evolve as well. So storage and compute are no longer enough. The AI agents need structured context before they can safely discover, understand, govern, access, and act on the data. So the context actually comes from the metadata. In this session, I will discuss why a meta control plan is becoming the foundation of a native data infrastructure and how it coordinates discovery, governance, semantic meaning, policy enforcement, credential banding, lineage, extra across multiple engines, multiple formats, multiple catalogs, and clouds. So traditional data platforms were designed mainly for human users and applications. A human analyst usually knows which table to use and which dashboard is trusted and which metrics definition is correct. However, an AI agent, it doesn't naturally know the context. It has to retrieve it from somewhere, right? So the problem is no longer just a natural language to the SQL. That is only a one step. Before generating SQL, there are many things to do for agent. Like they need to discover, semantic meaning and policy context, and before they execute, right? After the execution, the platform needs also to trace, to audit the lineage, and do more explanation things for agent. That's why the AI native data access require a new data architecture, which is metadata driven. Of course, the semantic layer is very essential for reliable agent access to enterprise data. Otherwise, agent has to guess what it means behind the data. Many efforts now is to share this interchangeable standard for semantic meaning across different platform or engines, right? That's why OSI, Open Semantic Interchange standard is there, right? And some implementation open source for DBT metric flow is there to behind the DBT semantic layer. And the one, to follow the standard, it lets a team can define the business concept such as metrics, measurements, dimensions, entities, right, in code, typically a YAML file, and then compile these definitions into consistent SQL for downstream tools. In simple terms, instead of every BI tools dashboard AI agent redefining revenue differently, right? This semantic layer can give them, one governed definition, right? This is definitely important. However, in practice, how to build and maintain a semantic layer still remains a challenge. The root problem has two, is that today's semantic and metrics layers are difficult to build and hard to maintain. The number one problem is, building a semantic layer requires significant, efforts from human, right? If human input is incomplete because no, many human efforts, or some of the people is leaving the team, right? There are many important business semantics actually lost it, right? The second is after the semantic layer is built, but your continual business logic and schema is continuing to evolve. This schema change, new data sets, and maybe a new definition for your business or terms are change, it's changed. It will be not propagated, or not to update naturally into your semantic layer. This is causing a semantic drift. Another problem other than building the semantic is in real enterprise environment, there is really, one clean data platform. You may have, iceberg tables in your lakehouse. You may have Hive tables in Lexis system. You may have your Hoodie tables for streaming workloads. Maybe some other new table format and length, right, for multimodality data. And maybe you have some raw files, right, across different object store. This is called fragmentation, right? And also on the engine side, you may have Spark, just handle your batch job. You have Trino, handle your interactive query. A Flink may have help on the streaming, while the other engine like Ray or Deft may support the AI workloads. Each engine also, has its own catalog integrations, credential configurations, and governance behavior, right? For human user, this is inconvenient, right? But for AI agents, it's even, very risky because this may act across fragmented system without consistent context or leading to some error or unexpected behavior. So when I say the metadata as a control plan, I does not mean only a searchable catalog. A control plan actually coordinating with data platform. It tells us what data exists, where it lives, what kind of format it uses, who own it, who can access it, and what kind of policy apply, and how fresh it is, right? So that the engine can go ahead to process it and what business meaning it represents. So this is metadata is actually becoming a runtime infrastructure. It's not using not only by the human searching the data, but also by the engines, applications, and the AI agent that need a structured context before taking the action. So this is the core architecture for the agent data accesses flow. So when an AI agent wants to query the data through natural language or other agentic APIs, right? The request first go to a semantic layer to resolve what is a relevant matrix data sets it can use, and then it then pass through the metadata control plan to determine access control permissions, retrieve the rights across access tokens, and capture all the audit lineage information, etc. After that, the agent can safely access the data through the core interface or other APIs providing by execution engines, which operate on the layer data sources. This is typical a safe way. From this access flow, we can see that the control plan sits as the center of this whole agentic data access flow. So a unified metadata layer becomes essential. That is why Apache Gravitino has gained a rapid adoption among industry leaders across a big tech, AI native company, financial services, gaming, mobile devices. By serving as a unified metadata control plan, the Gravitino also helped to solving one of the big challenges we just talking about early, the fragment of the modern data stack for multiple engines, multiple formats, even multi-cloud, and also the mix of the data and AI workloads. First, the Gravitino can serve as the metadata foundation. It will introduce a logic structure from the meta lake to catalog the schema and data sets, such as tables and file sets and other data assets. This is useful because the AI native platform need to govern both structured and unstructured data. A SQL workload may only care about tables, but an AI workload may need documents, images, embeddings, vector index, or file set, or the other data sets like length. Gravitino can federate multiple backend catalogs and expose a unified metadata namespace. The goal is not to force every team to move from, to one physical system. It's not. The goal is actually to give the engineers and agents a consistent metadata control plan across many systems. For engineers, semantic layer is not just a BI abstraction, and it becoming critical for AI correctness. If a user asks a question of the agent, what was the revenue last quarter? The agent shouldn't guess, which column to summarize. Definitely, the semantic layer define, trusted metrics, dimensions, entities, and the relationship. And also, metric flow can define the matrix dimensions And Gravitino can manage these kind of catalogs, assets, tags together. They're actually create a path from business intent to physical data to governance executions. For requests like weekly revenue by the region, a recommended safe agent safe execution flow is okay. The agent first identifies the intent, then it helps to resolve all the revenues in a semantic layer. Instead of guessing a table, it looks up, source, metadata, freshness, lineages, and quality, right? The policies check again the user and service. The system generate a query or plan, wrote into, engines, execute, record all the information, and use a metadata to explain the answer. Governance is where, metadata becomes operational, right? In a traditional system, user engines usually have a border credentials to storage and database, but definitely it's risky for AI agents. A better pattern is policy-based access with temporal scope credentials. Agent requests access to assets or metrics, and the metadata control plan will resolve these identities, assets, tags. And if the asset access is approved, it definitely issue a short-term, a short-lived credential scope to specific operation. So the key takeaway here is AI native platform need more than storage and compute, and the metadata is becoming actively runtime infrastructure. The Gravitino can provide a unified metadata foundation across catalogs, formats, and engines and clouds. Right, the semantic layer define the trusted business meaning together. Metadata and semantic allow the agent to safely to discover, govern, access, and acts on enterprise data. Thank you everyone for here. If you have more questions, welcome to discuss now
Nice.
or follow up in the
Thank
community.
you. Yeah, JP, I think what we would do is you should stick around in the chat and answer some of them as they come through, because I feel like this is the view of the future.
Yeah,
Just thinking through metadata and how you expose that semantically to the
sure. Of
agent
course.
feels like a massive, massive lift, but also incredibly high leverage. We got one here from Vishnu. Is this the same Vishnu of the competition notoriety? I think so. Vishnu is asking how Gravitino is different from Atlas.
I mean, from Atlas, Apache Atlas, right? Okay, so there's a two type of the data catalog. So first one is technical metadata or technical data catalog. The other one is business data catalog. So basically, the Graphitino serve on technical data catalog, right? It's just like a new version of HR, so that your engine can consume directly. But Atlas and maybe the other one like Data Hub or Open Metadata, it's just pulling the metadata, business metadata into another place. That means, okay, so your engine cannot use it because it may have a synchronized between your this business catalog with the actually data source. But we are the synchronized way. So anything change on your data sources will be reflected directly to Graphitino. So this is the main difference. And also beyond that, it's a multimodal data, just like I said, unstructured data management beyond just the structured data.
And does it support federated metadata? He's
Yes,
also following up.
supported.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, well, stick around the chat. JP, this was absolute pleasure. Thank you very
Sure.
much for coming.
No problem. Thank you.
Thanks for being with us. We are moving